Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Awaken Inner Wisdom. I'm so happy that you're here. If you're with me live, please put in the comments your question. If you're with me on replay, you can do the same thing, or you can go to bethbell.me/question. I would love to hear what's on your heart and in your mind and help you to awaken your inner wisdom by getting in there through heartbreak. Now, there's a couple of changes, so I'm going to do a tiny bit of a monologue today because with Lionsgate and probably the wasp that bit my arm and my whole arm is swollen. I don't know if you can see that, but it's craziness. And I don't know what else happened. Something else happened in my life that seemed big. It feels like there's a lot of movement energetically. So are you feeling this as well? If you are, like whether it's good, bad, or ugly, just say yes in the comments, because that will give me an idea of what everyone else is feeling too. I don't think it's unique to me. I think there's something happening right now. And while it feels really icky, I think there's something really, really good about what's coming as we maneuver our way through. Now, as I said, I want to add a few personal things today because number one, the reality is I only have a couple of questions submitted, which is bizarre. Each week, you guys are all so fabulous in providing wonderful questions. This week, I only have a few, but I think there's a reason to it. And I just want to talk through a few things with you because I think some things about the show are going to be changing and all for good. I know for myself that heartbreak has been one of the most important things that has happened to me over and over and over and over again. And I know that people think I'm really weird when I say that I love heartbreak. It doesn't mean that I love it when I'm experiencing it. It means that somehow innately I was given a gift to realize the deeper lessons in the heartbreak. And I've been able to build a spiritual toolbox through it. I've been able to really anchor in a different way of being through some of these devastating things that have happened in my life. And I know that my calling is to help other people do that as well. And I do 100% believe and know within me that to awaken our inner wisdom, heartbreak is right there teaching us how to do that. Because when the heart breaks open, the light has the opportunity to come in and shine through and to raise our vibration if we don't block our heart. And a lot of times that's what happens is we block our hearts and we have broken hearts and we don't heal our hearts and we suffer and we feel that suffering and we're just sitting in this. And that suffering causes health problems, marital problems, family problems, friendship problems. It causes all the problems, heartbreak. And so I think there's going to be more and more of a shift on the show to go deeper into heartbreak. I love all the questions and I love answering anything having to do with relationships to love and to life. But what Spirit's showing me, and I guess it's in my astrology as well, is that we have to get deeper and we have to really go to the heart of the matter. Because when we go to the heart of the matter of heartbreak, that's when we anchor in who we really are, what we came here to do. And there's so many that are sitting in a bit of a cesspool right now. And I want to help people get out of that cesspool and into their bliss pool and to be able to really live their passions, their purpose, show up, shine the light, show the way for others. So that's really what this show is about. And I think there's going to be some shifts and some changes. And so my message out to everyone here is please think a little bit more about, feel a little bit more about heartbreak. What is it that's broken your heart? And I know when I say that, a lot of people think, oh, romantic heartbreak. And that's fine because romantic heartbreak is typically like the biggest one that gets us places that we oftentimes don't want to go. But when we spit ourselves out through the other side, a lot of good, juicy nuggets come. So it can be romantic heartbreak, but it's also the things that break your heart, your family, your friends, work. There's lots of things that break our heart, cause a heartache for centuries. And sometimes it's ours. And honestly, sometimes it's ancestral. Sometimes it's stuff that's been given to us from generations. And so we want to break through all that. And so I just want to say that I'm excited about the changes that are happening on the show. Um, Heartbreak is going to be more of the theme here. So let's get to the heart of the matter. And I love answering your questions each week. We're going to get to the questions that I have. And if you're watching live, I would love for you to submit more questions, because if I don't have more questions, then we're going to end up ending the show early, which is fine, because then I can go to the beach and hang out. But I'd rather be here with you, getting into the depths of what's really causing that deeper ache in your heart. So I look forward to hearing from you either now on the show, on the replay, or when you submit questions on bethbell.me/question. Okay, let me jump over to the pre-submitted questions and let's see what we've got going on today. There's a couple of things coming in, and it's going to take me just a minute to get to it, I guess. Okay, here we are. A little technical difficulty. Okay, any new ideas for squeezing in a passion project while doing life? Actually, I think that's a common question, isn't it? Like, we have like all these passions that we want to do, but we don't know how to squeeze it in. And what comes to mind to say on this is that you shouldn't be squeezing it in. I think this is where we're at right now with humanity, that our passion projects need to be the projects. And yes, I know everyone's going to say, well, we have to make money. And yes, you do. Yes, you do have to make money, because we do have to pay bills, but there's a different way to go about making money. And when we're really, really deeply passionate about something, the money will come. So that might mean a bit of a transition. It might mean that you have to keep your 9-to-5 job for a while, and then you move into your passion projects. And in the meantime, start intending for those passion projects to be more time in your schedule. What is it that needs to fall away? What is it that I hear you, but squeezing in passion projects means like, oh, the thing that makes me the happiest, I'm going to try to squeeze in between all the shit that makes me suffer. Making it a little bit more dramatic than it is. I know that than the energy that it's being asked, but I want to use it as a opportunity to talk about how we've been programmed about passion and about like the system, and like do the system. And now is the time, honestly, now more than ever, it's a time on planet Earth where we're being asked to move into our true calling, which means that that's what has passion. And whatever it takes to do that, maybe it means that I'm making this up, I don't mean this for this person, but maybe it means that you downgrade your car to something that's cheaper, something you can just pay off and you don't have to have the monthly bill in the interim, not forever. Maybe you make a few sacrifices on the more materialistic things. Maybe you don't do that at all, and you just bring in the money doing your passion. I mean, you hear of people that just fall into things because they're so passionate that they've literally fallen into it because they're in love with what they do, and everything just comes magnetically to them, right? So that's the best spot to be, is to just be the magnet and let the abundance come in all ways, the abundance of joy, the abundance of money, the abundance of healing, the abundance of shining your light brightly. So I think passion is the project, not something to squeeze in. And I hope all of you can do that. I would love to know in the notes, what is your passion? Just whatever it is. Is it surfing? Is it pottery? Whatever your passion is, I'd just love to know what it is in the comments below. And you never know, maybe there's a new idea here that we can come up with together as to how you can maximize that passion to be something that's sustainable for you. All right, let's go on to the next question. With the Olympics coming to a close, I wonder how athletes who have trained for years and didn't get an anticipated medal, how can they get out of disappointment? Well, first of all, I think it's a really valid question. I I think that, and interesting now that it comes off of the question about passion, because obviously these athletes did this out of passion. They did this out of passion because they know that only three people are going to get a medal in that particular race or that particular competition. And so they're doing it because they are so innately passionate about it. And hopefully that's where they're anchored. If they're not anchored in that passion, then yes, not getting a medal could be devastating. And I understand why it would be, because you've dedicated years and years of your life to be the incredible athlete that you are in the Olympics. Your heart and your soul is in it. And when you don't win it, that can feel really devastating. But hopefully each one of those athletes have been anchored in why doing the practice of the sport brought them the joy, and that it's not really about the medal. The medal is like something that gives you recognition for your work in competition to others, and recognition from a huge amount of fans watching. And I get that, and that's fun, and there's nothing wrong with any of that. But if we're not having fun all along the way, and we're not having fun even afterwards, if we're not having fun going, hey, I made it to the Olympics. If you're not having fun being part of the Olympic team, if you're not having fun knowing that you're in Paris, having this incredible experience that so few people get to have, if that part's not the fun part, then we're missing the whole point. And I think we can apply that to every aspect of our life, because we get involved in, yeah, there are times when we have to do things that aren't as fun because they're just part of the process of living. But I think when we really get into the loving part of life, that's when we start to see things shift. When we put our stake in the ground and say, no, I love this. I love doing this. I want to do this for the rest of my life. Then who knows? It could be that, again, let's use the surfing analogy. I've been spending a lot of time in the ocean, which is really rare for me, which I've been reflecting on for myself. Like, wow, I live next to the ocean and I haven't actually been in it every single day of my life. Like, why? Like, why is that? People come here for vacation. So back to the surfer for a minute. So a surfer could spend a significant amount of time in the ocean, and someone could look at them and say, you better get to work. Like, you better get that job done. When it could be that their time in the ocean, number one, clears their head. Number two, makes them peaceful and joyful, which is the most important thing about life. And three, they could make a connection that they would have never made off the waves. They could talk to somebody that they would have never talked to because they were doing something that they loved. So I think we have to start really anchoring in, what do I love to do, and do more of that. What's fun, not what's part of the grind. And part of that also means that you have to get out of the guilt of not getting something done. And man, I can speak to this to myself. It's not that I like anchor in this feeling of guilt, but it's like, I always feel like, oh, I got to get something done. I got to be productive. And there's a good part of that, but there's also a balance to that I'm speaking to. It's the balance of having fun and being productive, but also just letting the fun guide us into the direction of which we want to go. So back to the Olympics and the Olympiads, is that what they're called? I think for them, coming out of the Olympics, there's probably a decision about whether they're going to continue and train for the next Olympics. But the most important part is having the fun, that they were there, that they participated, that they were able to support their other teammates that may have medaled. Yeah, so there's so much that can come out of this, and maximizing the lessons. Look, you as an athlete, if you're in the Olympics, you have a lot of wisdom to share that's applicable to everybody out here in society. It may feel like, oh, this is very specific to someone who's been training, but if you're training for the Olympics, like that mindset, that focus, all of that is great, juicy nuggets and material to share with the world. So it may be that you write a book. It may be that you, who knows? Maybe you start your own YouTube channel if you're an Olympiad that's come back and you're looking now for your purpose, because there isn't like a job. Typically, there isn't a job that you get out of doing I don't know, snowboarding came to mind. I mean, yeah, you could go work on the ski slopes, right? But there's not always like the real big I guess the word like nice, because I don't like the word big, but and I'm very particular about words. I want to use vibrationally what's really coming through. Maybe like not a lot of options that seem obvious. And so that's where we want to anchor in and just go to our higher self, spirit, and that place within us that just allows the answers to come to us instead of getting forced into this idea of like we have to figure it out. And look, I'm one of those people that loves to figure it out. I love Marie Forleo's, everything is figure outable. And it is, but that's also coming a lot of times from the mind. And so we want to be in our hearts. We want to be in our heart center. We want to feel into what's right for us. And so whenever we get this pressure, like what just happened with the pandemic, what's happening now, and what's happening with, Lionsgate and these portals and the solar flares and all of this energetic pressure that is weighing heavy. The beauty is that it's getting us deep into the programs of the mind and making it surface. It's coming up. It's coming up. It's coming up. And so we have a choice. Either we let it come out and we process it and we go through it, kind of getting back to that heartache thing, or we shove it down and we say, I don't want to feel that. I don't want to experience that. I want to ignore that. And we numb ourselves, whether it's just numbing ourselves, in our hearts, numbing ourselves with substances, numbing ourselves with distractions. There's the right place and time for things like Netflix, and it's not every night. And it's become the norm that people come home and just watch Netflix every night to escape from their life. And so let's get into life. Let's feel life in our bodies. Let's really know what is feeling right for us. What are our passions? Oh, I love how this is all kind of coming together. And these were 3 totally different questions coming in. So yeah, anyone on live, please ask your questions. I would love to hear. And if you're on replay. And then the other question, there's one more question. Let's see here. Okay, so here's the other question that's coming in. A number of close friends of mine are all moving away into exciting new lives. I'm sad to see them all go, but also sitting with my need to stay and trying to trust it is creating space for new souls to come. How would you deal with this? Yeah, right now, because people are getting moved in so many directions emotionally, it's stirring up so much. And so I'm with you when we have like our core group that feels like it's like leaving. It can be hard when we feel like, well, but I'm staying, and should I be staying? And some of those questions come into our minds, and we put ourselves in these really interesting situations of maybe it's the fear of missing out. But it's really not, because being anchored is also a beautiful thing. Even if we feel like we're anchored in our own shit, like there's things that we don't actually like about what we've created in our life. The really important thing is to focus on all the things that we do love about the life that we've created. So we've created this life for a reason. You're living where you're living for a reason. You have the friends that you have for a reason. The people that are leaving your life are leaving for a reason. And yes, there is an opportunity for new souls to come in. And it feels like in this particular case that you're actually being called and kind of nudged to find a way to attract souls to you, not go find them. So it's not like you have to, yes, you can keep going. You can go to more yoga classes. You can go to more sound healing classes. You can do all of that. Those are all still really valid ideas, but it's not what I'm getting for you specifically. I'm getting that there's like an energy within you that you want to start to shift, and that you want to emanate a different light out into the world, a different vibration, a different resonance out into the world. Because when you do that, and you also elevate your own resonance, you elevate your own feeling about yourself, you naturally attract other people. So it could be that people find you randomly on the internet. It could be that you find people randomly in the grocery store, but it's because you're giving off this vibration. So I think take that as an opportunity. And ooh, what else is coming? And this sometimes can get difficult when we lose a good group of friends. And I'm not saying you're losing them forever, because it sounds like they're just moving away. But when we lose them in the sense that we can't just call them up and say, hey, do you want to do coffee? That sadness that comes, that loneliness that can be felt, is the vulnerability that provides an incredible emanation of beauty out into the world. Not because you're like, oh, poor me, sad, sad, sad. No, 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 not that. But it's like this heart opening space. It's like that space in your heart where you go, ooh, I just feel really sad. You know how, like, if you're out and about and you're crying, like random people come up to you and they're like, can I help you? Because there's just an innate feeling of like, I want to help people who are down and out. Like, luckily humans typically have that. So again, it's not from a place of like, poor me. It's from a place of, my heart's broken. I'm lonely. Like, I want to attract other people, not from a place of neediness, just from a place of, I want to share my love and light with other people. And I want them to be here, and I want them to like physically be in my presence. And so emanate that desire, emanate that real glow of just really attracting these people that are going to help you glow. Because that's the whole point, isn't it? Is being human. The whole point is to feel our own love and to experience sharing it with someone else. It doesn't have to be romantic. It can just be like out there with strangers. Like, we lose touch with this idea that everybody out there is part of our play, and that everybody out there has something to give back to us. Oftentimes we just have to activate it within ourselves to put it out to them, so that they go, oh, wow, I felt that, you know? Okay, another analogy, like if you've ever been newly in love, doesn't have to be, but newly in love, let's say, and you're just glowing, both people are just glowing. Don't you often find that you have more people that want to be around you, and that when you're out and about, even by yourself, that more men come up to you or more women, because you have that open-hearted glow? And so big love brings us that, and so does big heartbreak. Both of those emanate an opening in our heart. And that's where we want to be, is in this open heart space. But we don't have to be in heartbreak to be there, right? So I'm just giving the analogy of like both sides. There's like the extremes on both sides of extreme love and big love, and extreme heartbreak and loss. And both of them have a similar vibration, because you're in your body feeling it. But we walk around and we're so disassociated with feeling love that all we do is walk around with the narratives of the mind going, oh, and they, and they, and they, and they have this, and oh, and right? So that's judgment. But when we're in an open heart, we can still be in observation. We can still be in preference. Like, I have a preference about things, right? I have a preference about wanting to talk to someone or not. But yeah, let's get our hearts open. And I love how that's kind of leading into what I started with, which is this transformation that I feel that's happening for me. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to shift the show. I just feel like there's a huge shift coming for me, and a shift that I'm going to be bringing to all of you. And I don't know what it looks like, but what I would love is if you have deep heartbreak questions. Look, a lot of times these are very private. And if they are, I would highly recommend that you go to bethbell.me/question, because you can submit it there and it'll be private. Because I know sometimes when you're typing it into, YouTube comments or Facebook comments or whatever, that you don't really want to expose yourself unless you have like some kind of an alias in your name of your channel or your Facebook page. So I get it. Like, you might not want everyone to know what your question is, but email me or put it on the bethbell.me/questions, because that comes to me in an email privately, and then I can answer that question on the show and keep your privacy and confidentiality there too. So we're going to move deeper in heartbreak. I hope that you're with me. I hope that you'll join me, and I hope that you'll really dig deep. I want to start activating these deeper questions. I love all the questions that are submitted. I really, really do. Spirit is telling me, no, you got to go deeper. You got to get into it, because heartbreak and heartache is happening. It's a pandemic in and of itself, right? Some people can call it loneliness, and it doesn't mean that you're alone. But we've got to get into it, down deep into it. And I'm going to be doing that for myself, and I'm going to be doing that and holding the space for others, because that is why I'm here. I know it deep within me, is that it is about helping others transcend heartache and heartbreak and get back away from suffering and into the bliss. And we know that it's like this. Life is like this. It's not always like, I'm in nirvana and a blissful state. I mean, it can be if you're Jesus, Buddha, Allah, Krishna. Of course, it can be. But most of us aren't quite there yet. We're working on it. And so let's leverage heartbreak to get us into bliss. But we've got to go through it. We can't push it down or ignore it and push it to the side. All right. Unless I get any other live questions, that's all I've got today. I don't know. Maybe everybody's on vacation. Maybe everybody's busy doing other things, which is great too. So please submit your questions. I love answering them. We're going to go deep into heartbreak. I don't know what's happening next week. I know there's going to be a shift. And maybe it means that I take a pause. I don't even know. We're going to find out, because a lot is happening here in the background for me. And I am really committed to tuning in and listening to spirit, my higher self, and having my soul in the driver's seat. If I'm going to tell everybody else to do it, I got to keep doing it myself. And so right now I know that there's just a really interesting place that we're in. And maybe again, it's the Lion's Gate. I don't know. I haven't studied a lot of the astrology. So I know a lot of energy happening, but I can't speak to that specifically. And I don't need to, because I just need to feel into it. I just need to really be in there. All right. So we have a question. Hi, I have a question. Great. Please give me your question. I'm happy to answer it. Hopefully it's about heartbreak or heartache. All right. So hopefully they're typing it here. We're going to hang tight. Yeah, I think, and if anyone listening live or on replay is, put in the comments, like, what is it that's breaking your heart? Just maybe one word. Right? Okay, so I am dating an executive for the federal government. He also has other businesses and is the chair in a few organizations. It seems he is abandoning our relationship, but says he isn't, and even has suggested I meet his daughter, get mail at his house, and talks about the future, kids, prenup, housekeeper. Am I being insecure, or is he being genuine? Potential heartbreak here. Thank you for being vulnerable to ask the question. What comes to me is that you are very intuitive. And like right now, I'm just telling you, I'm feeling something in my third chakra, which is our home. And it's telling me that you're on to something very intuitively, and that you should not ignore that. Now, the part that we have to be careful about is sometimes we build stories. We build stories in our mind about things because we have an expectation of someone that they're not meeting. My advice to you is to get into that depth. Ooh, it's strong. Like, this is a strong hit. And I feel that you're onto something that you're not being given information on, and that you need to trust that core feeling. Yeah. If you feel that he's abandoning your relationship, number one, it's always about you. So is there an abandonment wound that you have? So that's the first question you have to ask yourself. Because if you do, then you can be making up some of the narratives. But I'm also telling you, I'm getting a strong hit that even if this is an abandonment wound, there is something behind this, because actions speak louder than words, right? So you're saying, oh yeah, he's having, these talks about the future. And that's sometimes how people keep us in a relationship when they're also doing something over here. Okay, so you both have abandonment issues, and so does he. So you're connecting on that wound. You're connecting on the abandonment wound. And I would say, go just right into it and say, honey, we really need to talk. We really need to talk about our deeper wounds, because he's trying to protect himself and you're trying to protect yourself. And then at the same time, you're also trying to, like rely on each other. And this is always a situation where spirit, your higher self, is calling you to rely on you, because that's the only way through an abandonment wound, is to know that you are connected to a power that is so much bigger than you, but it is you. It's your higher self. And so we connect with our wounds like this. And the only way to get around it is to say to him, can we please have deep conversation about this? Let's talk about like our biggest fear. And here's where the rubber really hits the road. I don't know where you're at on this, but you have to ask yourself the question, am I willing to disclose to him what my biggest fear is? Because you have to lead, right? We can ask people to do things all day long, but if we won't do it ourselves, that's always the sticky part. So are you willing to share with him what your biggest fear is? And if the answer is yes, then go into that with him and ask him if he's willing to share his, because that's going to be a really important component to decisions that you make. Is if he's not willing then to share with you his biggest fear, if he's not willing to step into his biggest wound, then I think that's where the rubber hits the road for you to really start asking some questions like, hey, I want to heal. I want to have a healthy relationship. I want to have someone that I can trust. I want to move through this abandonment wound in a loving, kind way. You deserve that. And if he's not willing to go there with you, he may not be ready. It's not that he's a bad guy or any of that. It just may be that he's not ready to go into that. And the other thing is, I totally get that potential heartbreak. I think, when we get into any relationship, that's oftentimes our thought is, I don't want to get my heart broken. And so we kind of come in with this armor and just get really close to yourself of what the armor is and start peeling it off. But we also want to just have the cognizance of the discernment of, is this person with me? Are they with me on the journey? Or am I opening myself up and they're not willing to open themselves up? Because then you're going to be really off balance. So I'm going to go back to the first hit that I got, that there's something here. And now you're helping me get a little bit more of what it is, that his abandonment wound is coming in. So he's saying one thing, but then he's doing another. So he's hiding a little bit into his work. And if you have that really, I want to say, conscious conversation with him of like, let's just put the pink elephant in the room, here, and let's start painting it another color, right? Let's go to the purple. Let's go to like the real purple hearts here. Let's be brave. Let's talk about what I'm most scared of. And you talk about what you're most scared of and start getting it out on the table. And again, if he's not willing to do that, then I think you've got a different question on your mind. All right. Are you still with me? And is that helpful? And if you want something more, please put it in the comments, because I'm happy to elaborate on it. But you're on it. Just trust your intuition is what keeps coming to me. Trust your feeling, but also know that with your abandonment wound, there's like these subconscious programs that are creating stories and narratives too that may or may not be true. And the only way to find out is to ask and to tell the truth yourself. And sometimes that's difficult. And I don't mean that like you're trying to lie or any of that. I just mean telling ourselves the truth is a process, and it takes bravery to actually talk about what we really feel. Okay. Anyone else watching live? Do you have a live question? Otherwise, we are going to conclude a little bit early today. I am so happy for you to be here. I love every week to answer these questions. If you haven't already gotten my book, Angels, Herpes, and Psychedelics, Unraveling the Mind to Unveil Illusions, it is all about heartbreak. I didn't think of it like that before, but it's very true that I talk about all the things that broke my heart. So many people said to me after reading it, like, oh, wow, I've experienced so many similar things. And I thought it was interesting because I'm like, what, did everybody move to Bali and, and live in India and all these different things? But no, it was the emotions that I was feeling. And it was the heartbreak that I endured through work, through love, through family. And so it is all about heartbreak. That is how we awaken our inner wisdom and we really dive deep and get in there. Okay, it looks like we might have one more question. So I'll wait just a minute. And if you are interested in going a little bit deeper in your own awakening process, we have the Awaken Inner Wisdom membership, which is a great way to talk about topics, but go deeper and in discussion in a small group. So I would love for you to apply to go to that. And we also have the Awakening and Healing Handbook. It's on my website, bethbell.me. I talk all about the healing modalities that I have experienced and talked about in the book, Angels, Herpes, and Psychedelics. There's also the psychedelic resource guide. So if you're interested in the possibility of spiritual medicines, I have great guidance in there. I highly recommend, whether you've done psychedelics or not, or any spiritual medicines, plant-based medicines. It's a great guide and has some really great tips in there. And there's also the herpes handbook. So I would love for you to check that out. A lot of times people go, oh my God, herpes, but it really is also about viruses of the mind and how we can get through some of the most devastating things in our life. And again, herpes, heartbreak, come on. It's right there, all coupled together, right? Things that break our heart also help break our hearts open. Okay, let's go into another couple of questions coming in. I keep seeing myself participate in the same patterns with my partner. Is that me, or is that him, or is that us? I think that's how we were framing it. Yeah, the patterns are there, right? And a lot of times I feel we want to focus on the other person. And I don't mean that you're just focused on the other person, but I'm saying we want to focus on the rub with the other person that keeps coming back, keeps coming back, keeps coming back. When the reality is that issue most likely is from way before that person. And so that's where the deeper work comes. And I know you know this, but it's getting back to what is it that caused that within me for me to then attract that partner that is exacerbating this pattern. And I think a lot of times we play out these patterns for so long that we get to a place where we're just like, oh my God, I'm just done with this freaking pattern. And then we go deeper. And then we do maybe family constellation work, hypnotherapy. We do maybe some kind of plant-based medicine. We do deeper journeys because we've got to get into the subconscious mind. So I'm going to say something that I'm certain this person knows, but I'm going to say it for the greater good, that when we're born, we come in with a soul's plan. And we have a soul's plan that has all these characters lined up that we chose coming in, and we said, hey, you're going to play this part, you're going to play this part, you're going to play this part. And then we get born into these parents that we chose coming in. And those parents, they have an obligation to fill out our quest. And so whatever they did to us, messed us up, loved us up, tortured us, whatever it is, supported us, whatever they did to us was part of the plan, the soul's plan that we asked them to do coming in. Now, a lot of times, whatever their mind mess is came from their life experiences, but also their ancestral experiences. So here you are, boom, baby coming in, and you're born to these people, and these people are instilling programs and beliefs in you day after day after day. The community that you lived in, the country that you were born in, all of these programs came into you. And then you've spent, about 7, the programs are pretty much anchored in. And then you spend the rest of your life playing out those freaking programs until you decide that that's a program I don't want anymore. I don't want to experience that pattern. I don't want the program. And then it takes oftentimes quite a bit of digging to figure out where is that program and how can I get to it. That's why it's called neuro linguistic programming. If you've ever heard of NLP, right? It's a great way. It's a great way to get in there. But yeah, we got to do the subconscious work, and that's tricky and can be tough, but we got to make it fun to do that work. We got to make it fun to get in there and figure that out. So it's all of what you said. It's you, it's your partner, because they've come with their programs. They've come with their ancestral programming, and it's the us. because you guys chose each other and you both know that you're part of each other's soul's plan. And as long as here's the real important thing for everyone to get. As long as both partners are willing to do the work, you stay and you do the work with that partner. Because if you move on, and I'm not saying this person suggesting that, but if you're someone out there going, well, I just want to move on, I just want to go to somebody else, it'll be a lot easier. Well, it might be for the first, dreamy honeymoon stage of the first year, until you realize, oops, I just attracted someone bringing the same flippin' patterns to me to work out. So if that partner of yours is not willing to work on themselves and on you in the relationship, that's a big red flag. Then your soul's contract may be finished, and that you've got to really feel into. So if the contract's over, then you're not going to get anywhere with that person, and you do need to move on. But a lot of times it's just digging a little bit deeper into each other and getting that poking and prodding to work together, yet individually on the wounds, right? Because you both have your own wounds, but you have to support each other on each other's wounds. And sometimes they're a shared wound and sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're very different wounds. So hopefully that's helpful. All right, let's go on to the next question. If not, please put more comments in and I'm happy to share more. Okay, so the next question, should I divorce my son? I love that, only because it kind of comes off of this other question that I just answered. And of course, you can't divorce your son, but hey, good luck for trying, right? And if you realize that your son chose you on a soul level, and you chose your son on a soul level, as parents, I think we often think that like we're here to teach our kids everything. And yes, that's true. Like you're going to teach your kid that, hey, if the stove is hot, you're going to burn your hand because you don't want them to have to go through that. But children are actually here to teach us more. And I like to say that they have two main lessons that children teach all of us. Does anyone want to guess? Shucks, I know. Well, there's two main lessons. So maybe the guy that asked this question, do you have any idea what those two main lessons that all children teach us? And then there's a myriad of other things, but let's see if I can get you to give me what the two things are you think, or anybody that's listening live or even on replay, what are the two things that all children are here to teach us? All right, nobody wants to give it a try? Pure love and forgiveness. The only way to pure love is through forgiveness. Those two lessons are the anchors for all children that come into this lifetime. Love, patience, yes. I think that's right in with what I'm saying. Pure love, which is unconditional love, and forgiveness, which can also be, I think, seen as patience, because when you forgive someone, you do have an anchoring of patience with them because you're just in a different energy. So I think for the gentleman who asked if you should divorce your son, I know that sometimes we wish we had that option, but I would just go a little bit deeper into like, why did my son call me in and as his father? And, why did I call this son in? And what are the lessons? Like, what is it? So listen, I don't know how old your son is. If you want to tell me, that might be helpful too, but in a way it doesn't really matter because you instilled all these programs in him until about 7. I mean, I think that's like maybe give or take a few years, and some of the stuff you hate about your son, well, okay, sorry, that was my word, not yours, but I feel that there might be like a real angst here, and it might not be true hate. It might just be like frustration, right? That deeper, like, it's a reflection of you. And I know you're not going to like me to say that because there's something in there that is triggering you about you. And sometimes it's not because of you. It's not like, well, you did something, so like, oh, I should take all the self-blame. No, I'm not saying that either. But there's an ancestral lineage that comes to you from your parents as well. And it could be something that you just do and did and believe and experience as truth, but it's not. And so you gave that to him and you haven't identified what that is. But I guarantee you that if you do something like a family constellation work, and you find a facilitator that's really great, and I've got some listed in my Awakening and Healing Handbook, what you'll find is that a lot of times there's an ancestral lineage from wherever you're from that brought in that belief system, and you didn't even know it was there, and you didn't even know that it wasn't the truth. So I don't know exactly what that is for you, but I have a feeling that you have the tenacity to dive in there and figure out what that might be. I hope that you do, because that's the juicy bit. That's why we have kids. That's why I have a fur baby, but they teach us so much. And it's only when we don't want to get the lessons about what they're here to teach us, because we think that we're the adult in the room and that we're the master of the pets and the fur babies. No, they came in and we agreed to it. So yeah, might as well get the lessons now, because if you don't get it from, that particular person, whether it's a child or a coworker or a spouse, it's just going to come back around with somebody else until you clear that pattern. Here's the last thing I'm going to say that I just want to say right now. The energy is so amazing. It feels so shitty, and yet it's so amazing to burn through stuff. There are days as positive and optimistic, and like I have this massive toolbox, spiritual toolbox. I can get myself in and out of some really, really deep situations. And some days are really, really shitty because my mind has got a hold of me, and it's just cranking away at some stuff that I don't like to hear, and they're patterns, and I have to sit with it. I acknowledge it. I journal about it. I sit with it. I feel it. And I ask for patience and release of it, right? So we want to help ourselves release these things. So right now the energies are helping. The energies are helping, as heavy as they are, they're helping us to burn off these thought constructs, these ideas about life that aren't true. And we're getting to the truth. And the truth is all about pure, unconditional love and forgiveness. All right, you guys, I so appreciate you. If there's any other very last minute questions, I'm happy to answer them. But thank you so much for coming on with me live. Thank you for being here on replay. I can't wait to see you, hopefully again next week, 11:11 a.m. on Sundays. Let's see what Spirit's got in store with me. There's a lot shifting and shaking, and I can't wait to be with you again and get into deeper issues of heartbreak. All right, until next week, wishing you only bliss and love. Namaste. Mm.